Hey guys, it's Wayne DeCoteau. I want to thank you for being a preferred partner in the real estate space. Now, working on mortgages, working on real estate, you're running into a ton of people. They're going to go solar, right? In fact, if you open up your books for the deals that you helped close over the last 24 months, I gotta say at least 20% of them are now solar customers. I'm asking for your help. I'm asking for the introduction. I'm not gonna go in there and strong arm your client. I'm gonna protect my name. I'm gonna protect your name. But here's what I'd love to do. I'd love to pay you $1,000. I'm gonna say that again, $1,000 for every client that you connect me with who actually takes a solar install. Now, in your space, credit's important. It's the same thing in mine. So we're gonna have a discussion. I'd love to sit with you. Let's take a look at the deals that you've closed in the last 24 months. Identify which client might be a good fit. All I'm asking is for you to make the recommendation. Hey, if you're thinking about solar, I have a preferred partner, and in fact, he'd love to be your partner in solar. I want you to think about it a little more seriously. So for every 5th installed referral, you're gonna pick up a $2,500 bonus. It's $7,500 more on top of what you're earning in a pandemic. So 5 installs, $1,000 each, plus a $2,500 bonus. Your partner in solar. I wish you and your family a safe, healthy 2021. Let's see if you can work together. Talk to you soon.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Bottom Line Podcast, where we say what we mean and we mean what we say, because at the core of everything that is, was, and forever will be, there will always be the bottom line. Today's guest, Mr. Wayne DeCoteau. Mr. DeCoteau is your solar partner, your partner in solar.
That's the brand. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm excited to have you on today because you're gonna educate me. I think I know a little bit about the solar industry. I think I know a little bit about a little bit. I don't know a lot about a lot, right? So
fair enough.
That's where these conversations come in. That's where they come in handy, right? So I kind of we're living in a digital age right now where it's kind of tricky, to make that transition voluntarily without it being forced on us, right? What you do is it's an industry that's disrupting, I think, the energy sector on a very large scale, like globally even. You know what I mean?
There has been some global implications with solar.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say the beautiful thing about it is most disruptive technologies, let's take Uber and Lyft as an example, right? Yes, it's going to make it more convenient. It's going to make it more affordable for the end client. And solar is just another one in several of those disruptions, right? It does, of course, come with its challenges. But at the end of the day, it's certainly going to put us all in a better situation.
Yeah, I like how you said that. Put us all in a better situation, right?
Yeah, and again, when you reference global, the meat and potatoes is this, right? Our normal means of getting electricity is fossil fuels. And in some cases, I'm going to go as far as saying, let's say, destabilizing the planet, right? A lot of people are fracking, so they're pumping water into bedrock to force gas to come up to the surface.
Yeah.
You're literally breaking up the bedrock.
Yeah.
Right? So that's something that's sort of immediate. Now we look at the long-term effect, the greenhouse gases. If you're not burning coal, it means that you're not pushing tons and tons and tons of emissions into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
If you're using the sun, you find a means to take that energy and disperse it to the masses. Everyone benefits.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think you're right. I agree with you. But I don't know enough to say that that we're going to be around to see the benefits of that, ultimately. I think we can play our part now, right? Mm-hmm. To at least get things started, to not even to get them started, but just to create the foundation, so to speak, right? The bedrock, so to speak, right? For the future generation. So I'm curious, man. So how did you even get into this space? How did you get into, I want to know a couple of things, right? I'm going to get in your business today. I want to get in your business today. Okay. So I want to know a couple of things. First thing I want to know is, how did you even get into solar? Right. And just to get an idea of, how you got into it, I want to know more so how you got into sales, because solar is very competitive. right? So where do you feel comfortable starting? You want to talk about a little bit about the sales?
Let's take it from the beginning. Sales.
Yeah, let's get into that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll always have to go back and credit a high school friend, Curtis Mason, out of Staten Island, New York.
Shout out to Curtis Mason.
Yeah, as he's a realtor in Staten Island, and I remember back in 2000, one thing Curtis said to me, and that stuck with me. He said, "Look, you need to be in sales." I call it a personality thing. He said, "You need to be in sales because at the end of the day, there's no other industry that will pay you what you're worth." Right? Now we hear that and we're like, "Oh man, that's such a great compliment." But he always prefaced it by saying the good thing about sales is there is no ceiling. The good thing about sales is there is no floor. And I'm like, well, if there's no floor, how's that a good thing, right? So he says, look, Wayne, it'll always keep you motivated, right? 95% of us, we go to a job, call it a 9 to 5, you plug in, if you show up, there's a chance that you're going to get a paycheck at the end of the week. If you show up and you perform, there's a chance that you might get what we consider a merit raise, right? At the end of the year, you get your 2%, your 3%. And for the masses, you want to stay in a comfortable space. So having somewhere to go to, having a responsibility and knowing that you get a paycheck, that's where I was, right? And that's where I guess most of us are. Right. But he kept mentioning, he said, hey, you need to go into sales. So I kind of stumbled into it, right? I always kept that in the back of my mind. I remember in the late 90s, I worked at JP Morgan Chase.
Okay.
And always liked the Gap.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I would go in, I knew that their sales and all around Wednesdays, Gap, Banana Republic, Old Navy, Wednesdays when they'll have markdowns. Yep. And I went in there one Wednesday and they had these pants, I guess you could call them khakis, but theirs was the Southampton chinos.
Yeah.
And they were originally $52. They had them on sale for $9.99. So I walked in there, I was like, this is cool. I picked up 3 pairs and I walked out and I'm thinking, hey, I work at Chase in an office building. Some other people might want these, right?
Yeah.
So the wheels started turning. So I walked back in. I had a credit card, like $600 availability on it at the time.
Yeah.
And I went and I bought 50 more pairs.
50 more pairs?
50 more pairs. Because they're $10 a piece. And I'm like, listen, if I can't do something, I only turn them in a week and a half.
Yeah.
So I went to the office the next day and I took 20 pairs.
Yeah.
And I knew we would get paid on that Friday. So I went up to a lot of the guys and said, look, see what I'm wearing right now?
Yeah.
I could get these for you for $16.
Get out.
$16. And I showed a couple different styles, couple different colors. And I was like, really? So I started taking notes. And within the next week and a half, out of the 50 pairs that I bought, I sold like 43 of them.
Wow.
So I'm like, wait a minute. I bought this thing at $9.99.
Yeah.
I sold it at $16. And all it took me was a trip to the mall and then take it to work.
Nice.
So I'm like, all right, maybe there's something to this sales thing.
Nice margin.
Right? And just kind of transition from there.
Yeah. So I'm curious though. You're working for JP Morgan, right? So it's like
it was Chase. Yeah, Chase at the time was Manufacturers Hanover. Then it was Chase.
Yeah.
I was there up until like 2000.
Okay, but were you not making enough money there? It was like
I wasn't there in a sales capacity. I was there in what we call the check research and adjustment department.
Gotcha.
Back in the day when everything wasn't digital, you had to fill out an account form to make a deposit.
Got it.
Somebody put the wrong number, your money wouldn't go into the account.
Right.
So we had to research and find that.
So boring, right? Bottom line,
it paid a bill. It was comfortable. Comfortable.
Yeah. Okay. Right? So you really had this like what I call the hustler's mentality, right? Like
that's when I realized I had it.
Yeah. That bug, man, right? Because it's like I can relate to that, right? Because I remember my first sales interaction, I think, was like selling chocolate in school. Okay. You know what I mean? And it was like, how am I supposed to give this money away? Like, I'm not giving this money away. You know what I mean? Like now you get a lot of kids doing it, but back then it was like, you go door to door, you give the chocolate to your parents and your parents take it to work. My parents weren't doing that. They're like, no, we don't do that. Right. So I remember I went door to door. I was like on my way from school. I was probably in the 3rd or 4th grade. I'm going to say 4th grade, right? Like maybe 9.
You started young.
Yeah. And I was, we used to walk home from school. There was like a walk up the hill. And I can remember going from door to door on my way home and knocking on the door and saying, hey, do you want to buy chocolate? And people were just like, oh, sure, no problem, young man, and give me the money. I'd be on the train, going to the library or something. I'd have chocolate in my bag. You know what I mean? And I'm like selling chocolate. That's because before it became really, and I was just like, the fact that the transaction can happen so fast. and I can see immediate, reward, that for me was like, yeah, I was like just charged. I was high off of that feeling. And that's how I really, I had jobs where it's like that sense of security you're talking about, but it doesn't feel the same.
That entrepreneurship, and once for me, and again, like I said, that first piece, that was my initial exposure, right?
Yeah.
But you had referenced the bug.
Yeah.
So the next piece was network marketing.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
Somebody introduced me to ACN back in 1995.
Okay.
And they had, one of the lines they used was J. Paul Getty, right? The richest man in America at one point. He said, I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts as opposed to 100% of my own efforts.
Yeah.
So that always stuck with me, right?
Like that. Yeah.
I did the thing with the khakis, started a new job in 2000.
Okay.
And back in 2000, there was no streaming anything. Blockbuster was still a thing, right?
Yeah.
We would still go buy our DVDs.
Yeah.
So you referenced being on a train. We would take the Staten Island ferry to go. I lived in Staten Island. I worked in Lower Manhattan.
Okay.
So we take the Staten Island ferry going back and forth.
Yeah.
Started working in Midtown, and there was this DVD store. I forget what it's called, but DVDs have a release date.
Yeah.
And let's say the DVD is Tuesday's the release day. It's Tuesday. It's supposed to be the 20th, as an example.
Yep.
This store, like any other store, they would get their movies early because they have to stock it and get it ready.
Right.
They had a membership, and the membership was like whatever it cost, $10, $20, but I would save 10% off the movies.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
So you could go in there and get your movies early. Back then, you would pay $19.99 for your movie. New York City taxes, $21.64. This is when the hustle started getting real crazy for me. So I started buying my movies, and as we're taking a train, the ferry to get back to Staten Island, you talk to a couple of people and say, yo, I got this movie early.
Yeah.
I May 2000 training day, Denzel Washington, right? That was the big one.
Right.
So I got mine early, and a couple of people was like, yo, pick it up for me. So I started picking up the movies, and I'm like, wait a minute. If they went to the store on their own, they're paying $22, right? $20 plus the taxes.
Yep.
So I said, let me do this.
Yeah.
I'll pick up the movie for you.
Yeah.
And you pay me instead of paying Best Buy. So I'm paying, like, it was crazy how these numbers are coming back. I'm paying $19.53 per movie.
Yeah.
I'm selling it for $21.64. Give me the 36 cents tip. Call it $22. So I'm making $2.53 per movie.
Yeah.
And I would go to the store, find out what's coming out, tell everybody.
Yeah.
I'll buy a case, 24 movies.
Nice.
First, when I started doing, I'm like, yo, if I could sell 8, that pays for my 1. Yeah. So I help you get your 8, I get my 1 free. Then a few of the people that were buying the movies, they were like, listen, man, I'm going to my office too. So I said, all right, look, let's do this. I'll get the movie. We'll split the profit. It was really like, it was a lot of work for no money, but the idea was what was really exciting.
Yeah.
So if we're making $2.53, we split it. You take $1.27, I take $1.28. Before you know, we were doing like 30, 40 movies a week.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
I remember, and that's where the spreading, like, all right, so I'll get the movies, I'll get it to 5 guys. Yeah. They'll go out, they'll sell it at their office. Everybody's making a little something. And at first, everybody was doing it just so they could get their free movie.
Yeah.
So for me, if I did 8, I got my free. If he did 16, he got his free.
Nice. Yeah.
Now it's like a couple months into that, we're making an extra $1,000 a month. And I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
This thing works.
Yeah. And it works well. Yeah. It's like a well-oiled machine. I like how you did that. So what you're able to do is identify a need on both sides. You identified an internal need and external need, right? So, and then you're able to expand also because you're able to meet both needs, both internally. So like, and you incentivized it so that you can get to more, so you can increase.
Everybody wins. Everybody wins, certainly.
Everybody wins. So, these are things that you're not going to learn in school. You know what I mean? Like, you're just not going to pick these up in a classroom. You're not going to pick these up, even sometimes working, I talk to people who went to school for their MBAs and they're like, yeah, it means nothing. You know what I mean? And they'll tell me that. They're like, I have the bearings, yes, but it moves too fast. Like, especially the finance space, it moves too fast. Guys who are coming into finance, guys who are, working on a very high level, their MBAs didn't prepare them for the pivots that the marketplace, exposes them to. So it's a little tricky, right? And I like the way you put it. It's kind of like you're able to identify how to get to mass scale. You know what I mean? At a very at a very early age, I guess, and like early in your career. So let's try to, like, you know, bridge this this gap where, you know, there's hustling and then there's like really selling.
Sure.
Right? Because you could hustle till you like blue in the face and there's nothing coming out of it, and all you're doing is hustling. It's like busy work, right? There's just a lot of busy work. But then for you to be effective and for you to like bring people on so they can share that vision, talk to me about that. Because when we talk, you and I, you have this the vision of a leader. You have this leadership quality about you, right? And I think that's how you're yeah, I think that's how you're so effective, right? And it's kind of hard to say no to a guy like that. So I can remember, like, you know, selling solar panels is not easy because you go door to door, and a lot of people are not ready for that, you know, that change or that adjustment. But you seem like a guy who's like, no, let me show you why. Let me show you how. Talk to me about that.
Again, and if it's presented well, right, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, what solar is today is not what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? So you had asked, and I guess in one of our previous questions, like, how did I get into solar?
Talk to me about that. Yeah.
After that movie thing went well for a while, then you started getting the Netflix of the world and this, and people just stopped, you know, they wanted to buy the bootleg. I wasn't trying to sell the bootleg.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So you had your clientele.
Quality.
My job changed. You know, I went from working in Manhattan to working in New Jersey. So now the accessibility wasn't there as much. I worked in advertising for a while.
Yep.
And after leaving the bank, going to advertising as an admin, one of the functions I had was helping to cut the checks for the sales guys.
Okay.
And I'm looking at these guys and gals walking in. They don't look much different than I do. You know, they're talking much different than I'm doing. I'm sitting here, you know, making whatever it was at the time, $20 an hour.
Yeah.
And have to pass the check off to a guy and say, hey, here's your $15,000 for this month. And I'm like, I think I'm on the wrong side of the desk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we transitioned, we trained. I think in 2004 is when I went and now officially made my title a sales professional.
Okay.
I was an account executive.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was selling advertising, and that started to work. It was slow. You know, you see the billboards that you see up and down the highways.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. 2008 came around and we had this thing called a recession.
Yeah.
Right. So now you got folks saying, do I want to pay for advertising this month or do I want to keep my lights on?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Tried doing some network marketing. It made some money, but again, we had, call it bills. Right. 2010 is when it really, really kicked in for me. Right. 2010, I ended up getting hired at Cablevision.
Okay.
Right. Now, everybody knows Cablevision, but they weren't the best relative to, let's say, the upstart Verizon Fios.
Yeah.
So a lot of folks would leave. We were the win-back department. We would go knock on your door. That's my first exposure to door-to-door residential sales. We'd go knock on your door and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I know you're pretty upset with Cablevision right now.
Yep.
The internet was slow. The TV kept dropping. But I'd love to give you this special offer if you come back and try it. No strings, no attachments.
Love it.
People did, and that worked well. That worked really, really, really well.
Yep.
I've always had that bug, that network marketing bug. So let's say I cheated on Cablevision. I was doing some third-party energy on the side.
Okay.
All right, and this is where we got into solar.
Yeah.
The third-party energy had a section where they would say some of your energy is renewable, right? So instead of buying the fossil fuel energy, they would supply you with green energy. And I started looking at what's green energy. And that's where the solar piece started coming in.
What year was this?
This was 2014.
Okay.
So actually 2013.
Okay.
Right. So I'm selling third-party energy on the side.
Yeah.
And they're using a portion of that energy is coming from solar. And they're talking about the energy credits and everything else. Mm-hmm. So now I'm saying, okay, there's something to this solar. It's new and emerging, right? Mm-hmm. Cablevision, though it was paying well, it was getting to a point where people were cutting the cord, as it were. They were going to the streaming services. Mm-hmm. So in doing this thing on the side, I had the fortunate misfortune of selling the third-party energy to a Cablevision customer. Mm-hmm. And it was less regulated. Price went up, customer complained, Cablevision wasn't happy. Let's call it a conflict of interest.
Yep.
I was asked to leave. So now I know about this thing called solar. And I'm like, all right, it's new, it's emerging. I'd like to be a solar sales rep. I'd love to be in a position where I can be ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Right. As opposed to joining a company, working with a company for something where we're fighting against it. Now all I have to do is show people the benefit that buying your own energy.
Yeah.
Either owning your energy or buying it from the panels is a cheaper, more efficient way than doing the conventional method.
Gotcha.
So we started in 2014, door knocking. People were seeing it, but it wasn't as commonplace as it is now.
Right.
And so I'll say 5 years ago, if you sold someone, like the biggest problem I had was if I go to sell someone solar, they would say, let me speak to my realtor.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, realtors are buying and selling, helping the transition.
Yeah.
A realtor typically does not understand the paperwork behind a solar, right? A solar.
Let me slow you down for a little bit, right? Because I want to kind of like bring you back to a place where a lot of us salespeople run into this wall. And when we run into this wall, our income stops, right? And you got to be a little crazy. Like you got to be a wackadoo, something. So you got to have a couple of screws loose up here, right? To say, I'm going to just go full-time sales and I'm only going to work on commission because I believe that I can sell and I believe that I'm, like you said in the beginning, and I kind of want to make this, conversation as practical and as realistic as, for people as possible, because you look like a nice guy, you clean up well, you know what I mean? And you've been through it, right? Like you've been, like you said in the very beginning, there's no floor.
Yeah.
You literally fall through, right? And
so this real estate thing, that was my wall.
So let's go back just a little bit, right? Because what you said was that you got kicked. There was a conflict of interest, so they let you go. Cablevision let you go, but then you also had some foresight that helped you to see the new and emerging market in solar, and you also saw the benefits of that. Right? A lot of people lack that foresight. Okay, so I think where you come in, and I need you to kind of like just bear with me a little bit because I know this was a long time ago, right? But what was it about that foresight that said, you know what, I'm going to go this route? And I know there might be, because subconsciously you probably knew there was going to be a level of conflict of interest, but you said, new and emerging market. What was it about those buzzwords? What was it about that foresight that made you go ahead and go in that direction and pursue the solar opportunity?
So I knew there would be challenges, right? Because not everybody's ready to put this structure on their home. When I first started solar, it wasn't commission only. So that made it a little more comfortable.
Gotcha.
I had a base at Cablevision. I had benefits. When I started with the first solar company, there was a base and there were benefits. The first thought was, when we worked at Cablevision, I would help a customer save for 2 years.
Okay.
And then their offer would be expired, and then it'll call back Cablevision. They'll kind of go through the song and dance again, right?
Yep.
Solar was a 20-year minimum arrangement. First company that can only lease the system. So I knew they would have a controlled rate and a lower rate of electricity well into the future.
Very nice.
Right? Cablevision, strangely enough, we couldn't do referrals at the time. So I knew, as hard as this was, look, everything requires an adoption period. If we can stick through it, right? Have some lean years, we know on the tail end, as these customers are installed and they're happy, there would be some referral business, right? They say any sales organization, you want 60% or better of your business coming from referrals.
Referrals, that's right.
This, for me, I looked at it at the time, New Jersey was less than 1% populated with solar. Think of the marketplace, right? But I knew there would be a challenge. The first people to do things, they go through the bumps, but they're the ones that reward, they're rewarded the most. And I was by no means the first, but I know I saw opportunity. Now, we didn't know that there would be the walls. And the walls for me were realtors. When a client asked a realtor, hey, is it a good idea? Realtor didn't understand it. The realtor say, hey, there was a lien on your house. Now it's like, oh, I can't do it. I might sell in 5-10 years. At that point, looking at that wall, it was great. Let's educate realtors on solar. Because if you as a realtor understand that it just requires 2 documents being reviewed and explained, then there was no longer this wall. Right? That for me was my challenge.
Okay.
And through that challenge came the growth.
How long was that a challenge for you? How long did it take you to overcome that challenge?
It took about 2 years. It took about 2 years to educate enough realtors where I could comfortably say to my clients, it's something I say now. I said, look, if you have any considerations, any concerns, and it's still a concern, I'll put you in touch with 4 to 5 realtors in your area who are now comfortably selling homes with solar.
So if I'm a realtor, what are you saying to me so that you can educate me on this? And I'm the most skeptical, cynical realtor you'll ever meet, right?
Certainly.
So what would you say to me to turn me around and get me on your side?
I say, look, at today, if you look at selling a home with solar, yes, it might be an obstacle. And you might be doing the right thing to avoid having your clients go solar because you as the realtor don't fully understand it. But I want you to pause and think about this. In 5 years, if you don't know how to sell a house with solar, you're leaving a lot of money on the table.
Yeah.
That's the aha moment.
You're like, 5 years.
Right?
Yeah.
Again, as an individual, and again, a realtor is a 1099 commission salesperson in most cases, like I am today.
Yeah.
So if they're looking at a situation where it might prove to inhibit the transaction for them, they might want to leave it alone. And I'll say, look, if you're doing this for the long haul, that's your thought for today.
Right.
Why don't we spend some time educating you on that process so that going forward, when somebody calls you up and they say, hey, I have a home for sale and it has a solar on it, you don't pass it off to the next guy. You gladly accept it.
Yeah.
And you get that sale.
Yeah. What's the response like when you say that to them?
There's just like there was an aha moment for you, it's an aha moment for them. I mean, you talk to somebody's core. You talk to them, hey, in 5 years from now, if you can't sell a house with solar, you're out of business.
Yeah.
They want to learn. And again, time plays a lot with that because they're seeing more and more houses showing up with solar.
Yep.
So it'd be crazy to not learn to sell it at this point.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So besides that, what was another that was a great one. And it took you 2 years to finally figure that part out, right? To actually get to a part where it makes sense, not just for the realtors, but then also for the homeowners, right? So let's talk about the homeowners now. What are some of the objections that they might, have, and then how do you handle those objections?
A lot of homeowners, they felt that the company, the biggest thing is it's too good to be true. Because unfortunately, a lot of people throw it out there free. All of the ads, free this, government's paying for this, utility companies paying for that. They're subsidizing it, right? You're not going to have a situation where somebody puts a system on your house and you're free and clear of a bill.
Right.
So it's the education process.
Right.
That's really the biggest part. Homeowners would believe that the companies are taking all the benefits. And okay, yeah, so they're investing in a system for your home. They're reaping a benefit. There's folks who want to own, there's folks who want to lease. They want the easy way out. But as it goes further and further along, now ownership is as easy as a lease is.
Yeah.
Right? Like I said to the homeowner, a crazy objection was, oh, I get 2 bills now.
Yeah.
And I give them the look like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So think about it this way, right? When we first put solar in the home in Staten Island, we were paying about $160 a month to Con Edison. Right? Okay. 1 bill. So now we're going to put this solar system on the house and you're going to pay the solar company maybe $80 a month.
Yeah.
And now you're going to pay Con Edison just a basic service charge of $20 a month. So I now have 2 bills combined to $100, where in the past I had 1 bill for $150.
Yep.
Dude, you don't even have to lick a stamp.
Right.
Like when they say it's 2 bills, it doesn't. Everything is set up online today.
Yeah.
You probably have your cable, your TV, electricity, your gas coming out automatically. Solar's the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're paying 2 entities, but you're saving $50 a month.
Gotcha. And that's the part that they need to understand, right? Let's talk about the network marketing side of it too, right? Because now I think that you're a professional at, and it's like something that came to you naturally. Even listening to you talk about how you started out in sales, you've got this direct to consumer approach, right? So it's like you're not going to find that too much nowadays, that people are able to master that approach the way you have, right? So a lot of
thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it's, listening to you talk, it's like you never really thought about having different parts, that represent what your goal is. So I'm going to hire one guy to go talk to this person, hire another guy. No, I'll get straight to you, right? And not only that, I'm gonna recruit you. So you're doing 2 things, right? You're recruiting at the same time. Talk to me about that, man. When did you realize that was going to be really important to get you to scale, both within the solar business?
Look at, so we spoke about the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't start with solar. I'll say it started in 1995 when I was exposed to network marketing.
Okay.
You do a lot of reading. You follow your Jim Rohns, your Zig Ziglars, right? Your Les Browns.
Old school.
The bottom line is, look for a video coming soon. It's going to talk to the fact, the proverb, you want to go fast, go alone.
Yeah.
You want to go far, go with a team.
Go with a team.
Right?
Right.
Sales is a selfish industry sometimes.
Sure.
Right? It requires a certain amount of ego. That's one thing that I've always been able to balance. Like I don't ever want to be that salesperson that is trying to keep the secret sauce hidden. And I know people who are real successful and they won't share anything.
Right.
I'm going to take a longer approach, right? So in sales, there's professional salespeople, there's salespeople, and there's entry-level salespeople.
Yeah.
And some things cannot be taught, but they can be learned. And to put that in perspective, you might see the top sales professional in your field, and they can't teach you what they do, right? Because it might be something in them,
right?
But there are techniques that you can learn, right, that you can implement and have it be part of your sales strategy.
Yeah.
Right. One thing I've always felt that if I can help enough people get what they want, I'll always have what I need.
Right.
And so it just seemed to make sense to bring your people along with you. Like even back in 1995, when I first heard of this thing called ACN and network marketing, that concept resonated with me. Help other people, right? Maybe it's something from my mom's, coming from Trinidad. We were like poor. We lived in 3 rooms, but there was always room for someone that needed help.
How about that?
Right?
Yeah.
She came to the US in the 80s. I've seen several of our family members and friends come to Trinidad to stay in probably now 5-room apartment. There's always room to help somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think gratitude goes a long way. I know I've been in situations where I have been helped.
Yeah.
So if I saw the value in sales, like, for a while, the chase was always 6 figures. You want to make 6 figures. And it's like, wow, 6 figures is really not what we all thought it would be.
Right. You can blow right through.
So, but if I can help somebody change their tax code, it doesn't take anything from me to do that.
Yeah.
So recruiting has always been for me, hey, listen, I'm not losing out by helping you. I mean, if there's a contest and a top guy wins a trip, maybe I'll bring a top guy to the company and they'll outperform me, and maybe I'll lose the trip.
Yeah.
That's okay. Initially, recruiting was just help somebody change their family's outlook.
Yep.
I want to get to a point where showing up with something nice is less common or less uncommon, right? Sometimes, you show up with a car and it's like, oh, wow, that it shouldn't be, oh, wow, it should be normal. So if you can help your circle accomplish certain things,
right? One
is a sense of gratitude, a sense of accomplishment. The bigger picture is looking outside of me. So for me, recruiting initially was, hey, let me help others come up with me. I don't want to be that guy that left my dude behind.
Right.
Now in sales management, it's like, hey, you can actually earn an additional level of income by doing it. So it worked out.
I love it. I love that, man. Because like you said, sales is very, very selfish. And it's kind of like you want to keep...
You see it a lot, sure.
Yeah. And it's like you want to just keep... There's high turnover in sales. That's the other thing. Because like the person who has the gold mine or who has the know-how doesn't share a lot, right? And they don't train their team.
A lot of times you see that, sure.
Yeah. So I think culturally, I think you and I have that in common, because like I was born in the States, but my parents, I'm first generation American. My parents are from Haiti. And
gotcha.
That's exactly what you talk about. It's like, we always make room, man. Always make room. Like I grew up with my cousins during the summers, and it'd be like, 7 or 8 of us kids running around in our house. And it was like, you don't realize that there's not a lot of space because you're kids, you're playing around, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But it's like when it's bedtime and you got to share the bed with like 2 of your cousins, it's like, you know what I mean? You make room. Like that's how I grew up too, like make room. And it's a bunch of us kids. And, you talk about being able just to, I like what you said too, right? Because like you get this happening a lot. And I think competitively speaking, sales is very competitive. So it's like, you might pull up with a car and somebody else might pull up with another car. Then it becomes very competitive. And it's kind of like that healthy competition, right? To get you to propel yourselves forward. That's what makes you, really good at what you do. But that's like an external kind of like motivation. More intrinsically though, I'm wondering, okay, what does this do for you when you're able to say, you know what, I don't care that I got let go by Cablevision. I saw, you know, the next wave, which was solar, right? What did that do for you internally? Like, what does that do?
That's growth, man. That's growth, right? Like, again, there are people who tie their sense of self-worth to a job, to a position. Like, being fired is never a good thing. Like, you know, some people, it'll crush them, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it was growth. Like, and I felt, had I done something nefarious, had I had ill intent, I wouldn't be blessed, right? So again, didn't do anything wrong. It just didn't work out for that client. But 2 months later, I'm in a space where I wanted to be. Right now, again, the income took a while to get back to where it was, but that's growth as an individual. You know, that's one more challenge is being overcome. And for me, it was not in the best time at all, right? Like, we had that 2008 situation, started with Cablevision. Things were moving good. House was in order. And my wife, she and I spoke about it recently. Like, I just came home early that day. And, you know, she came and said, "Hey, hon, you home?" I was like, "Yeah." And I was laying on the couch. And she's like, "What's going on?" "Oh, nothing. You know, everything's all right." "Oh, by the way, I lost my job today." Right? So it's like, kind of like, "Oh, I lost my job today." And typically that's a situation that now causes a whole disruption of dynamics in the house. But there was always a plan in place. Again, having had that sales experience is one thing I've always felt, that people will always give you a shot in sales. It may not be with a base, because sales, it's a performance-based industry.
That's it.
So there's always an opportunity. If you're worth it, you learn in space. Losing a job, having to go now and go into a new industry, there was some trepidation. There was some concern, but it was happening. Like, I would see it. I would see maybe one every 6 months, I would see a new house with solar. Understood, you know, started diving and understand the dynamics of the income associated with it. You know, the first company didn't pay anything near to where you'd earn now, but it was a process. It was a process.
Does
and I
now
figured the more I learn, I could share.
Okay. I mean, and that's not going to change with you ever, right? That you're still going to.
That's me.
You're doing that with the realtors. You're doing that with a lot of people that you talk to. Your team right now, even. So, do you feel like now with the pandemic that it has similar feeling as 2008 when Lehman happened?
Strangely enough, no. There was some concern, right? So in March of this past year, you started to see the financial implications of it. People were saying, "Hey, I signed up for the solar and I wanted to buy it cash, but now I don't know what my income would be like over the next 6 months. Hey, I don't even know if I'll be around over the next 6 months." There were a lot less people backing out of deals than we expected. Things slowed down dramatically because a lot of my business was door knocking, networking. But if you're not networking face to face, belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball, you know, that opportunity for the referral, for the sale is lessened. That's when I realized the method that I use most for acquiring business, it's true value.
True value.
Right? It's the referrals. Like, you can go back now to a customer and that customer has been installed and they're seeing the value. So a lot of people this past year had higher electric bills than ever before because now you're home. Now everyone's home. Now you're using devices for 10 hours a day instead of 3 hours a day. You know, now you're actively running this appliance, that appliance. So customers who had solar, who themselves may have been underemployed at the time, how much more of a benefit would it be for them for me to say, "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, look, you're saving right now with solar, and that's great. I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about the earning side of it."
Okay, let's go into that.
Your neighbors, right? You know, your neighbors are home. You look out the window, you see their kids playing on their side of the street, your kids playing on your side of the street. You're not congregating, but they're home. Would it be okay if you made that introduction that we spoke about 6 months ago? You know, they were busy. They were at work all the time. Well, some folks have time now. They're sitting at home. They're sitting at home. So we're in a situation where let's talk to them.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, there's X amount of dollars involved as a referral bonus for you.
There we go. Yeah, let's talk about that, right? Because you talk about, you know, and I think you're one of the guys that probably knows what it's like to have to start over a few times, you know, in his career, right? Because you've been at it for so long as you know, a vet. You're a sales vet, right? So it's kind of like, you know, how did you survive during those lean years? One, and two, how can you help people survive during these lean years right now with solar? So you just mentioned one of them. What's another one? They can do a referral, and I think I'm asking you about this now because I think Elon Musk now is everything that he puts out is a way for his consumers to be able to make money off of the products they use. So like Tesla, you know, he's working on an HVAC system now also for air filtration and air purification. You know, he's even wanted to come out with a phone, I think, to compete with Tim Cook, and I think he'll crush it if he comes out with that.
The guy's he's a marketing genius. He's a marketing genius, right? Like, and you referenced like his referral codes. I've seen videos on the Tesla, the cars, and a lot of people. He would encourage people to do testimonials.
Yeah.
Right. So you would see YouTubers going out there, and at the end of it, they'll always say, "Hey, you know what? Mention my referral code. You'll get a little something. I'll get a little something."
Yeah.
So that networking is a big piece of how I'm able to help people now, right? So a lot of the reps that I've picked up over the last 2 months, they may be underemployed. Okay, great. Let's do a couple things. Let's talk about you being a referral partner.
Got it.
Referral partner will pay X. But if you're referring enough business, it must mean you're saying the right things to the right people. You have access to the right network.
Right.
Why not you yourself become a sales consultant? Right? As a referral partner, you only need to know but so much. You need to know the benefits of it.
Right.
As a sales consultant, you may need to share some of, call it the technical know-how on it.
Yep.
So let's make that transition, right? If you were making $60,000 last year and now you're probably going to make 40,000, jobs say, hey, I'm going to keep you on. We're going to limit your hours, but we have to cut your salary. All right, there's a $20,000 need. Why not work with me? Let's see if over the next 3-4 months, we can position you where you replace that lost income.
Yeah.
My selfish goal is, hey, look, if I can help you replace $20,000, I know it's not going to take you a year to do that. So if you can see from a sales perspective, wait a minute, I only spoke with, call it a numbers game, 10 people.
Right.
And out of those 10 people, I got a good conversation with 4 of them. And I was able to convert/sell one of those. Maybe the sales thing might not be as hard as a lot of people think it is.
Right. So he has more opportunity to make money as a sales rep than a referral partner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. More skin in the game, right?
More skin in the game.
I'll still go out as a referral partner. I'm going in and I'm doing the whole sale.
Yeah.
Right. If you'd like to sit in and learn, you're happy to do that. But for a referral partner, it's, hey, let's get a qualified introduction. Don't give me your cousin who's renting a house. I can't sell him.
Right.
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 If you know someone who has a home, and of course I'll explain, I can't put solar in a home that's sitting under significant trees.
Sure.
Now, if they're willing to remove those trees, that's another story.
Yep.
We're looking for someone that's credit qualified, 650 or better.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Obstacles. People would say, hey, I want to do it, but I need a new roof. So I think I'm going to coin this phrase, electricity equity.
I love it.
Part of what I do is I'm going to show someone how they can use their electricity equity to pay for your roof.
Nice.
Right. Everyone knows a home equity line of credit, right? You're going to take money out of the house to pay for repairs.
Right.
All right. If your usage is high enough and the need is low enough, let's use electricity equity to pay for that. And then, like that looks a little puzzle. And I'll simply say it this way. If you're spending $150 a month for your electricity bill now, as an example, that could be $300, $400, whatever it is, and you need a roof, right? This is a big thing in solar, free roof. If you need a roof and you're spending enough money,
right?
If I give you a solar ownership, right? Well, instead of paying $200 to own nothing, spend $200 to own your system, have a brand new roof, have the utility company pay you, right? At least here in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And have the federal government give you a tax break to help pay for your system.
Nice.
All using that electricity equity.
Unbelievable. That's outstanding. I love that. Yeah. So you're gonna dub that. I would TM that. You know, that's good, right?
Like I said, I may have to do it. I just have to look around and see if it's something that I made up, or maybe I heard it somewhere. I don't want to be that guy trying to. Oh wait, that's my term.
No, because that's leverage, and I think a lot of people will probably say no because they don't know they have that leverage. They don't know that they could do that. So that's amazing, man. That's amazing. How about new constructions? Like, are you working with new constructions?
Not as much. Okay. So again, new construction, when you're working with developers, and look, it will come to a point where you're doing it, because in California, as an example, as of last year, every new construction has to have some renewable element attached to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
In New York, just across the bridge, any new construction, I think it's as of later this year, or any addition beyond a certain size has to have some renewable piece to it. For the typical homeowner, when you go solar, the utility company has to approve it. They're involved in the process.
Got it.
So they check your usage for the previous 12 months. New construction, there is no usage. So there's some estimates that can be used. Somebody just bought a home. If there's a history with the utility company for the prior owner, it's easier. If it's brand new construction, it's still doable. It just takes a few more steps.
Got it. Yeah. There's less for them to go off of because they haven't been using anything to begin with, right? Like any energy in the beginning, right? Yeah.
They need to have a comparison, because I can't just go to a home and build as large as they want. There are restrictions that are imposed by the utility companies.
Yeah. How's the installation process? How long is that process? Like, does somebody have to be out of their home? How does that process work?
No. Physical installation is a day, and it's no different than a guy. They can replace your entire roof and you're sitting in your home, right? Unless they're ripping off the plywood. Solar installation, the physical process is hardly ever more than one day.
Okay.
Right? Depending on the towns, some towns you have to put racking, they inspect it, then you come back, but it's generally a 1-day installation.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So you've got a few people, man, that I think right now that could probably benefit from either being a referral partner. They can also become a sales rep, right? And they probably know people who are, especially realtors, who could do both. Realtors can definitely do both.
Absolutely.
Who know people. What are some, I guess, first thing that somebody should say? If I'm a realtor, what should I be saying to people, right? So I can bring you business.
I'll go to my realtors and I say, look at the houses you sold in the last 2 years. There's a large chance that a few of those houses have gone solar. So as a realtor, you are a trusted advisor. If they need a contractor, they're asking you. Excuse me a second. They'll come to you for a plumber, for a contractor, for an electrician, for a title company, for an attorney. Solar, and part of my goal is trying to make solar part of that network. Yeah. So I'd go to a realtor and say, listen, you've sold X amount of homes. Your client may come to you sooner rather than later asking you about the value of solar. At that point, they've already been approached by a solar representative. I'm going to ask you if there is, I think with realtors in New Jersey, as long as they disclose that they can receive a referral, then it's legal, right?
Okay.
Different people say different things. I'll always ask, hey, listen, if there's no problem with you picking up a referral bonus for connecting me, please just ask your clients, say, look, if you're considering solar, if you're happy with how I work with you through our transaction, if you trust my judgment, I have a guy that I'd like you to have a conversation with.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. And what is a realtor, a referral
no pressure.
Partner? What does a referral partner walk away with? Like 25% of a deal, 10%, 15%?
No, it's different from company to company. As an industry average, you would say it's about 500. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure that my guys are incentivized. So depending on the size of the system, I mean, it's rare that you get someone with a 9 or 10 panel system. Okay. But if you use an average system, 15, 16 panels, between what the company that I represent, Sunny Mac, pays and what your partner in solar, my brand, pays, they're walking with $1,000.
Okay. Nice. Very nice. And now for a sales rep wants to start out, they're looking for that $20,000, maybe, they want to start out, they want to make some money. What does that look like for them starting out, like entry level?
I'll tell my recruiting pitch is, if you want to do this thing part-time, you do 3 deals a month, you'll make six figures over the next 12 months.
Right.
And again, deals like real estate, it depends on the size of the deal. Right.
Yeah.
So I'll say, my thing is, I'll use a blanket statement. If you'd like to see what six figures looks like, and you're willing to put in the time, if you can do 3 deals a month as an average, you'll see six figures.
Amazing. Yeah, that's amazing.
Right? Like I remember coming up, even when I was at the bank, the guys that are doing six figures, you're looking like 60, 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
Shirt and tie. And again, that's not a bad thing, but 67 hours a week was almost the minimum requirement for six figures 15 years ago. Right? Or 10 years of college.
Yeah. What are the hours like now? What do you say the hours are like now? How many hours of somebody is like a sales rep putting in now? Is it like a 12-hour work day or what?
Who? Nah, listen. Look, there are sales guys.
Six figures, so it's like you're gonna make the six figures. You gotta work.
All right, yeah. Well, look,
you've been conditioned to think this way, right?
This is the beauty of sales. Yeah. Again, and I don't want to misrepresent the work that goes into it, right? So you may be in a situation where your work is seeing a client. It might be an hour or 2 hours,
right?
But there's a lot of prep work, right? So maybe you're doing client work, maybe, I don't know, 2 hours a day. Maybe you're seeing a client a day,
prepping,
and you might do prep work 3 hours a day.
Okay.
Excuse me 1 second, okay?
Yeah.
Ty. Actual work, right?
Yeah.
Again, I might work a 6 hour day.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. There are folks who may work an 8 hour day. Again, sales being what it is, you may do a lot more prep work, but it's certainly not a 60-hour week.
Okay.
If I had to be, I would say a 30-hour week.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And in normal times, pre-pandemic times, I would tell someone, okay, you're new to sales, you don't have a network, let's do the door-to-door model, right?
Yeah.
Door-to-door, if you can work 5 days a week, putting in 4 hours a day, so you're putting 20 hours of door time.
Yeah.
From that door time, your hope is to find at least 3 appointments.
Nice.
If those appointments were 2-hour appointments, then now you're doing 5 times 4 is 20. Let's say you'll do a 30-hour work week.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
The pandemic has changed the way we work. So fortunately, I didn't lose income last year.
Okay, good.
And my time outside of the home significantly decreased. So now it'll probably be, as opposed to doing an in-home consultation, it'll probably be an hour, hour and a half on a Zoom.
Nice. Yeah.
You try to do 4 or 5 consultations a week. That's your work week.
Nice. Yeah, I love it. Because I'm all about recapturing time. You know what I mean? I'm like, if you're going to get into the performance-based industry and you're going to actually not have a ceiling, you have time now to figure this out. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So for you, that's why I'm like, listen, I feel like you, when I said 12-hour work day, you're like, oh, who? I feel the same way.
People still do that.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's like, you should know how to leverage your time so that you work for yourself and you're not working for you're not a slave to the business, right? So I love that you said that, right? And I think what's also cool is that it is incentivized so that you can make 6 figures within a short period of time. So it's like you're doing more. You're doing less with more time. You're making more money in less time. That's amazing, right?
So we talk about the balance that we all search for, which is quality of life.
That's
right?
Yeah.
And that's really what we're looking for. Hey, how can I earn a comfortable salary?
Yeah.
And be able to enjoy it?
Yeah.
Right? Again, like at Cablevision, it's a more structured scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not picking on Cablevision. I appreciate everything that I learned there. Mm-hmm. But it was a 40-hour work week. Unless you were a top performer, there was a program called BYOB, Be Your Own Boss.
Okay.
Right? So if you did 17 at the time, again, I'm taking you back to 2014. Mm-hmm. If you did 17 deals, you could now, as opposed to showing up at the office at 12 o'clock,
mm-hmm.
my schedule was Tuesday through Friday. I had to be at the office at 12 o'clock. We would have an office meeting. We would have a boost. And then they would give you about an hour break, and you have to go knock doors until 9 o'clock. Like it was very structured.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Top reps at Cablevision would clear $300,000.
Oh wow.
But those top reps weren't showing up at the office because once you performed at a certain level, they understood you're an adult. You're motivated. You're doing the right thing. So you didn't need that structure, as it were.
Right.
I think solar is the same thing. You know, and as an example, when I say my top guy, my buddy, the top guy in the office, not part of my team.
Yeah.
He had a bad year last year. It was $250,000.
Wow, that's a bad year.
And you know, that was his bad year because a good year is 400,000.
Yeah.
But he laughs all the time. He calls this his part-time job, right?
I love
because he knocked doors so well, so effectively, so efficiently for a 2-year period that he has so many customers that if he decides I'm just going to chill for 2 months, then he'll do 4 or 5 deals because he's getting phone calls. Right. Hey, listen, I've got my buddy, my neighbor, they're interested, have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
So in selling this solar dream, I'll always say, do the unnecessary, do the things you don't want. Like people frown on you knock on my door.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like I remember at Cablevision, one of the top guys, he said he knocked on someone's door one time and the guy was like really demeaning. You know, he's like, listen, sir, you're nicely dressed. You're a good looking guy. You speak well. Why don't you get a real job?
Yep. Get a real job. That's the one that stings the most.
And then in his humility, he said, hey, I thank you. I appreciate what you're saying. And I don't know if he verbalized this to the customer. I think he did. But I think his rebuttal was, hey, I really appreciate that. Just so you know, this door knocking that I'm doing, your house can fit in my garage.
Oh, ouch.
Right? And after hearing that, it put a whole different perspective on things. Because, you know, for your first couple of years, it's different. Like door knocking to sell for a living it's not looked on as, wow, it's a glorious position. Like people for a while, they would think sales is what you do when you can't get a job. Right. And so I love being able to enjoy the quality of life that sales can afford.
Amen.
Right.
Amen. Yeah.
It's laughable. It's you know, I mean, again, you look at the garbage man. Oh, he's a garbage man. Garbage man is making 6 figures.
They make
garbage
money.
Man he's got the best benefits ever. Right?
Yeah.
But you know, people like, oh well, he's a garbage man.
It's demeaning.
Like, that's people for you.
That's how it is. Like, that's how it is. You're right.
You know, you knock a door sometimes, and then it's like in the beginning, like people say, I could never do that. Like you toughen up your skin.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the goal is, and I will say this to someone that I'm looking to recruit. I want you to learn to knock doors so well that you no longer have to knock doors.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Do anything that you're going to do it well enough so that the worst parts of it, maybe you don't have to do it. Right. Now, granted, 70% of my business last year was referral business. And this year, the hope is to make it 90%.
Amazing.
As far as income, the hope is to make 50% of it leveraged income, helping others to do the same.
Right.
But there are dues that have to be paid to do that.
I love that. Man, you know what's crazy? I can remember the very first year that I actually went to go door knocking. That year I grossed like 100K. And I was knocking doors. And I can tell you, I had a full-time job and everything. And I was just like getting upset and fed up with my full-time job. And I was like, what's it going to hurt? Right. I felt like it was something that was beneath me. And I couldn't believe that I got down to that low. You know what I mean? And I was like, yo, this is like so old school. This is like 2000, what? I think 13 maybe. 2013 or 2012, something like that. 2012. My son was born in 2012. Yeah, 2012. It was 2012, right?
Right.
And I was like just hustling. I was working part-time real estate and full-time job and doing demolition. And I was like, you know what? I just suited up and I got like, I can't knock it until I try it. And I literally went and knocked it. And then since then, it was just like addicting. It was addicting. Like I would just park up in my car, get my coffee, and just say, okay, I'm canvassing. And I'll go into a neighborhood and I'll just door knock and talk to the strangers. And I'll tell you, between April and about September, October, people are out and about, and it's the best vibe ever. Like if you want to get money and you want to really like build relationships, because it's like, yeah, I came to get money, but when you start to see that it's the relationships that are bringing you closer to the referrals, and you're seeing the impact you have in those relationships, it doesn't even amount to the amount of money that you were going after. You know what I mean? Sure. And that's really where I got to a level where I was like, wow, it's about impact. Relationships are really about impact. You know what I mean? Not about the money, because they just don't equate, you know? And that's what's addicting. When somebody talks you up and they say, hey, you're great, I want you to meet such and such. And when you go meet such and such and you hear from such and such, you know what? She told me you did this, that, and that, and that, and that. I think you could do that for me. And you're like, what? You get this, I think it's elation, right? Like you get elated, like you have this fulfillment, you have this level of contribution that you weren't looking for, or you didn't even know existed when you were looking for money. You know what I mean? So, and I got that through door knocking. So I'm listening to you talk and I'm like, yo, they don't even understand how far this can actually go.
It's a frowned upon art, but I would not trade the experiences.
Yeah.
The value, right? Again, you're talking about the people you meet. As a networker, we understand. And in the beginning, when you're networking, you don't necessarily always see the end result.
Yeah.
But one thing that I'm a firm believer in is that my net worth is in some way tied to my network.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even going back to network marketing, like I have my buddy, he's like, dude, why do you keep doing these things? They don't work. And someone's definition of working is different from someone else's, right?
Right.
So when we do some network marketing, you hear about the guy that's making 6 figures. That was the chase.
Yeah.
And I've never made 6 figures in network marketing.
Right. Okay.
But any sales job that I came into was a direct result of those relationships.
Yeah.
That were built.
Yep.
When I lost a position at Cablevision and was introduced to the company in solar, it was someone that I met through network marketing.
Yep.
So relationships are so important, and they're not always meant to be monetized, right? There is that sense of fulfillment when you can help someone. Mm-hmm. It's not to say that every relationship has a financial benefit to it.
That's right. That's right.
But if you do the right thing long enough, you can't help but benefit from it.
There it is. There it is. Yeah. Where do you see your industry, say, within the next 10 years or so?
Like, I'm not making this a political statement, mm-hmm. but because of the changing of the guard, some of the incentives have already been extended. Right? Mm-hmm. So over the next 10 years, it would be hard pressed to see it going anywhere but up.
Yeah.
Because as the technology continues to improve, as people continue to accelerate the rate that they're referring, mm-hmm. it can only help. It can only help. It's certainly one of these overlooked industries. And I know it's no longer overlooked because in the last year, there were so many people who were impacted in the economy, at least here in my area, New York, New Jersey, where they're looking at solar sales for the first time.
Yeah.
Right? More and more people are hearing about the benefits of being involved in this industry from an income standpoint or from a savings standpoint, to where there's nothing in place that can slow this down at this point.
Gotcha. Do you think it's going to be like an add-on or like a bonus feature, or do you think it's going to be like absolutely necessary? Like today, you know, my coaching business, for instance, is like, you know, Zoom was like an add-on. It was like, if you're in a state that I can't get to, and I'm in another state, and it's like, you know, I'm not going to be there for a while, I'm not going to be in your city, let's do a Zoom. It was an add-on. It was a bonus feature. Now it's absolutely necessary. We can't do business without it, right? Do you think that's going to be the same
levels? State by state levels, it's starting to be implemented where it is necessary, right? As more and more people lean towards believing in the effect of global warming, it may be, I don't want to say it's absolute, because again, anything that is forced upon you is not something that you appreciate, right?
Right.
So, but in the last 3 years, California has implemented where there must be solar in any new construction. New York is doing the same. So it will probably be closer to a necessity. And again, it'll get to a point where it just makes sense. Let's go back to the electric vehicles. as more and more people transition to electric vehicles, that's a larger pull on the grid.
Yeah.
So you'll find a lot of folks who have gone solar for the first time, they're doing it because, hey, now I have an electric vehicle and I'm no longer paying for gas. So I need to do this to supplement my electricity.
Yeah.
So just based on changes in technology, it certainly will become a lot more commonplace.
Yeah, it helps you reduce your carbon footprint too. I think what
Absolutely.
Elon Musk is like, your car will tell you when you're headed home so that it could turn on your HVAC system, and that will help you reduce the cost that you're paying. When essentially
Elon Musk is messing with the matrix, dude.
Yeah, yeah, he's
Iron Man. Walk and be like, here's your tea.
Right? We're gonna be.
You wanted 2 sugars in that, right?
Yeah, yeah. I love it, man. Let's play a quick game before we wrap up, right? It's called hands down, the lightning round. Okay.
Let's do it.
I'm going to give you 3 topics. I'm going to ask for your bottom line, your opinion about these topics. If you don't like the topic, just say pass and I'll move on to the next one. Okay. Fair
enough.
All right. So the first one is, okay. So it is a race, I guess, to the top with these electric cars, right? And then got Tim Cook against Elon Musk, Apple coming out with their Apple car. You as a consumer, you as a creator, you as a salesman, which one do you think
Elon's got the market? Elon's got he's got the market. He's a master marketer. He's got it.
He's got the market.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Best place to vacation.
That is going to be a personal choice for me. Hawaii.
Hawaii. Very nice.
Hawaii. And I'll say based on vacations that we've had, I do want to go to Bora Bora. So let's call it the South Pacific. Best case of, what I'm looking to do.
Yeah.
Of the trips we've done, Hawaii's been my best. I want to do some of the other islands in the South Pacific. Let's say the South Pacific. That could be Tahiti, Fiji, Bora Bora.
Okay. So now we're talking about that. I love that. Those are international flights. Are you traveling? Okay. So like whatever, 3 years, 5 years from now, whatever's going on with this vaccine, are you traveling commercially or are you going to be doing the private jet chartering? Are you going to be chartering?
No. I don't want to get, look, I'm nowhere there.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could be there.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I want that lifestyle. Commercial.
Okay. Commercial?
Yeah. Commercial.
Yeah.
Now, if it happens that it can be afforded, I'd rather put that to use elsewhere.
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave it as commercial.
Commercial.
Yeah. Commercial, sure.
I'm hearing more.
I don't want to have to fight with Jay-Z for elbow room.
Oh,
let me do commercial.
Yeah. I'm hearing that's a big industry right now that's picking up the private jet industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's picking up.
Especially now, right? Because again, the less people you're exposed to, the quote unquote safer you are.
Yeah.
So I can see it. But for now, right, we're going to make decisions based on where we are mentally, emotionally, financially. Commercial.
Right. Commercial.
Might be business class, but commercial.
Yeah, I like it. All right. Same good perks in business class. All right. And Wayne, what is your bottom line, right? That reoccurring truth for you that in spite of any setback, any challenge, that you go back to this truth and it serves as rocket fuel for you and propels you upward. What's that? What's your bottom line?
If I do enough to help others, I'll always have what I need. Right? So as hard as things get, I never want to be a self-serving individual where, you know what, there's not enough for me and you, I have to get mine. A good friend of mine, he's Guyanese, and one of the sayings they say is eat little and live long, right? So one of my truths, I always want to be in a position where it's not about, it might be me primary, but not me first. If I can help somebody else, I want to do that.
Nice. Love that. Yeah, that's deep. I like that. I appreciate that. Yeah, man. Where do people find you? Where do people find you, Wayne?
So social media, it would be your partner in solar, with the exemption of Instagram, where more specifically Wayne, your partner in solar.
Okay.
So it's all spelled out. None of this shortened partner, letter N. It's your partner in solar.
Yep.
Instagram, it's Wayne, your partner in solar.
All right. Yeah, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Wayne DeCoteau, my Trinidadian brother, selling solar. He's in, listen, I think you guys are not only focused in Jersey, right? Are you focused anywhere else?
as a company, Sunny Mac works in New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, where you can do loans, leases, PPAs, ownership in Delaware and Massachusetts, and we're touching areas of Florida, which are still to be determined as to say what sections of Florida. But New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, where you can lease a system, where you can own a system. Delaware, Pennsylvania also has, we install there, but it's ownership only. So that can be taken out a loan.
Nice.
Right?
Nice.
So I'm going to say this. When people think about owning a system, there's still that this thing is really, really expensive, right?
Yeah.
It will require a loan, but understand this. If you're currently paying X for a utility company, you get nothing but a light bill and an annual 2 to 3% increase. If you own your system, you will have a federal tax credit that can be used to help pay down your loan. And in states like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and New York, there are utility incentives that will allow you to offset the cost of your system. So for New Jersey, where my market is, I'll always say if you're spending $150 a month for your electricity, own your system and have the utility company give you $60 a month for 15 years. So as opposed to saying as an average, you're spending $1,800 a year and getting nothing, well, spend $1,800 a year and get $600 back from the utility company. Own your system, which adds value to your home when you're selling it.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. So if you want to be a referral partner, reach out to Wayne. If you want to join his sales team, either in New York and New Jersey, definitely reach out to Wayne. He's accessible on Instagram, on Facebook as well. And,
Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. No, scratch that. I'm not tweeting.
Not
LinkedIn, yeah. Facebook, Instagram. Just join that Clubhouse. But nice. Web Talk's another new emerging platform where I'm also available as Wayne. Right? So it's Wayne DeCoteau or Your Partner in Solar. Instagram, it's Wayne, Your Partner in Solar.
That's it. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Reach out, get to know Wayne. Wayne, thanks for taking the time. You're amazing. I'm looking forward to speaking to you more and learning more from you. Again, ladies and gentlemen, reach out to Wayne. There's money to make in this solar. And, you know, like we talked about, it's not just about the money. It's more about the relationships. All right. That's what this is.
Mr. Jean, thank you, sir. Thank you. Listen, I look forward to our coaching.
Definitely. Same here. Definitely looking forward to that. Yep. This is the
Appreciate
Bottom Line Podcast, where we say what we mean and we mean what we say, because at the core of everything that is, was, and forever will be, there will always be the bottom line.
Here you go.
Hey guys, it's Wayne DeCoteau. I want to thank you for being a preferred partner in the real estate space. Now, working on mortgages, working on real estate, you're running into a ton of people. They're going to go solar, right? In fact, if you open up your books for the deals that you helped close over the last 24 months, I gotta say at least 20% of them are now solar customers. I'm asking for your help. I'm asking for the introduction. I'm not gonna go in there and strong arm your client. I'm gonna protect my name. I'm gonna protect your name. But here's what I'd love to do. I'd love to pay you $1,000. I'm gonna say that again, $1,000 for every client that you connect me with who actually takes a solar install. Now, in your space, credit's important. It's the same thing in mine. So we're gonna have a discussion. I'd love to sit with you. Let's take a look at the deals that you've closed in the last 24 months, identify which client might be a good fit. All I'm asking is for you to make the recommendation, hey, if you're thinking about solar, I have a preferred partner, and in fact, he'd love to be your partner in solar. I want you to think about it a little more seriously. So for every 5th installed referral, you're gonna pick up a $2,500 bonus. It's $7,500 more on top of what you're earning in a pandemic. So 5 installs, $1,000 each, plus a $2,500 bonus. Your partner in solar, I wish you and your family a safe, healthy 2021. Let's see if you can work together. Talk to you soon.